event, except that today we're talking about a success story. So I've been very lucky to have Simon Jolly join me here today from Chris Jolly's Outdoors. Now, we were scheduling a talk on tourism, and unfortunately, our partners over at Tomahawk weren't able to make it. And so I reached out to Chris Jolly Outdoors because I know that they are just super digitally savvy and have a great story. And I think that it'll be so much value to hear about how you guys use tech and just your journey in general, so that other tourism businesses that tune in can ask questions or get some insight into how to integrate these things into their business. So thanks so much, Simon, for joining me here today. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. So you forgot to mention you basically just upgraded everyone to the premium experience.
That's exactly right. I know I did. And you know what? It's really funny because you're quite well known throughout your area as being the techiest. So, you know, your reputation precedes you. So I wanted to start off this session with a little bit of information about, you know, how Chris Jolly got started, what was the inspiration, and we'll kind of move on from there. And while you start to tell us about that aspect of the how, why, I will jump off and get all the live chats set up. Sound good?
Sounds good. Yeah. So I guess from our side, from my side of view, it's really a little bit of a history lesson. Chris Jolly Outdoors has now been operating 42 years. So it's to sort of make a long story shorter, it's a family business, which my father started back in 1980. And in order for him to get into this business, it was not by fluke, but he always had a passion for fishing. And I grew up on a farm in the Manawatu. That's where I was born. And he was a farmer when he was young. But his family had a little batch at a place called Waitatoko, which is on the eastern side of Lake Taupo. And he started coming up here from a young age and fell in love with fishing. In fact, every excuse he could find to go fishing, he used. And I guess he used one pretty well when he managed to convince my mother to sell the family farm and move to Taupo so he could probably do more fishing. So in 1980, we moved up, and within a year, we had actually bought a sports shop, so he was selling fishing gear, so he was happy about that. And within a year, we had our first charter boat on Lake Taupo, and that's really where it all started. He had always enjoyed entertaining, and I think to be able to take people fishing on a lake and be entertaining people at the same time really was, he was just happy. And as with all people in the tourism industry knows that if you're enjoying your product, people will enjoy it with you. And so in 1980, we started with one charter boat. Through the early 80s, the product developed from taking mums and dads and families out fishing. And even back then, we did a lot of overnight charters. So we'd be on the lake for 2 to 3 days. And then those people wanted to bring their businesses back. So the start of the corporate charters work. And by 1987, we had purchased our first bigger boat that allowed us to do functions up to about 60 people on the lake on one charter. And so by the end of the 90s, we had 5 charter boats in various shapes and sizes, targeting different markets. Even back in the early 90s, we were dealing in the luxury section of the market with Hooker Lodge. We were dealing with corporate entities and a lot of corporate entertainment. Still mums and dads and kids and families. And we were also doing fly fishing, and we had just purchased a deer hunting property as well. So by 1990, we probably still had 15 to 20 people on the staff back then. So over the years, we've basically just added and chopped and changed those products, but also had to be responsible to marketplace demands. Into the 90s, we were doing a huge amount of work out of Asia and China. Oh, not so much China, sorry, Korea. The Asian market crashed, which had a big impact on our business. Come 2001, 9/11, our US luxury market changed dramatically. Move into other points like 2008, GFC, and then roll on into the predicament we're in at the moment, which has, I guess, been the most challenging point of business that we've ever had to face, with an industry that had basically been shut down. Well, for us, 65% of our work, sort of denied. So that's, I guess, in the long and the short of the history of the business. We've always had to be adaptive. We've always tried to be sort of market leaders in what we do, but the key part of it is, people need to be either leaving the boat or finishing a fly fishing lesson happier than when they started it. The whole thing of, it's all about customer relationships, making people enjoying your product, but also that you have the right staff on board that are presenting that product as well. So it's fun, it's demanding, it's odd hours, and it requires some special people to work those positions. But yeah, I guess that's sort of where we're at, the long and the short.
It is the long and the short, isn't it? It's such a great journey. I mean, it's taking me right back to, even my childhood. My father was a big fisherman, kind of things like that. So just hearing your dad, that was his journey. It was quite, that's also was kind of my father's journey. So it's quite lovely to commiserate there with you. And, you kind of have gotten into a lot of the challenges that you have also been experiencing throughout time. I myself lived in New York in 2011, so I was right there for all of that, and everything in 2008 with just markets crashing. I mean, it's been a turbo. I feel like life in general just goes up and down, and it is what you said, that ability, that resiliency, the ability to adapt, that allows you to continue on. And I would say also that it sounds like you've really surrounded yourself with a team that is quite lovely, that can come together in times when it is challenging and support each other through that. So it sounds quite wonderful. I feel like you've spoken about challenges in a way as far as like the market trends over the past few decades, but are there any other challenges, like setting up the business or getting the word out there, or, things like that you'd like to draw on now before we move into your successes? Because I want to go into that after.
Challenges, I guess, when you look at different marketplaces, every marketplace requires, a different format, a different strategy to get into. And I say over the years, moving from even from Korea to China, from Hong Kong, and those sort of, everyone requires a different approach. I think I can talk about the last couple of years specifically, that we've had a marketplace that has dramatically shrinked. We had so many channels in place beforehand, and to get back into that point of how do we strip everything back? How do we go back to targeting the marketplace that generally for the last 15, 20 years, we haven't. And it's actually, in some ways, it's sort of made life easier. You've got a smaller market to deal with. You've got a smaller sector of the market to target. How do you do that the most effective way? And, for us, going back into some New Zealand online booking platforms, really honing in your Google AdWords, your Google searches, and making the most of our social channels as well to really directly target those customers that we know that would be interested for that. Yeah.
We'll get into more of those digital tools in a minute, but I want to ask you, do you feel like this, I guess, restructuring, if you will, of the way of who you're marketing to and who your client base is and stuff like that, as the borders open up and we start to see more and more tourists, do you think that's actually going to have been an advantageous thing, like a good thing for your business, in the sense that now you've got this part again and you already know how to do the other part, so you'll start to add that in? Do you feel like in a way it's given a nice base?
Well, I think sort of. I think to an extent, the way we've marketed to New Zealanders has probably reached a peak. I think you're going to find that New Zealanders, there will be a lot of New Zealanders with some disposable income that will want to go overseas. But we know for myself with our North American market, let's talk about that. We have 30 or 40 different outbound operators over there that we work with that are consistently emailing. Some of these guys have changed their bookings 6 or 7 times. No, and we've been banging on that the demand is there and people want to come. It's just when they can get in the door. And the beauty about that for us is we just have to keep our relationships with those outbounds, and then they sell to the customers. So I guess for us, it's just been having that tap turned back on. We saw it a month and a half ago when they sort of gave us those dates for the US and the visa waiver countries come back in. From October onwards. Our bookings have really cranked, is what we expected. So we're lucky. We don't have to change the way we do stuff in order to basically get those clients back through the door, which is great. I mean, we changed our domestic market a lot. So I think we've probably reached a bit of a ceiling on that, but it has increased a lot as well. So
yeah, like it's almost like you've even though you always had you started probably with that keyword market in the beginning, then as it switched to more international, probably some focus was taken off, but now you've almost doubled down where you've got that real solid base here, with whatever it will fruit. And then that international kind of stuff that you've always been so great at, which is quite good. What would you say out of all of these trials and tribulations for your family, really, because it is a family-based business, very cool to see it traveling on, throughout generations. What have been some of the highlights or the successes? And it doesn't have to be monetary. It doesn't have to be acquiring more boats. You know what I mean? Like, what have been some of the successes that you feel are worth noting?
Well, I'll tell you what, the biggest success would be is that the business is still going at the moment.
Yeah.
After what we've been through in the last couple of years. I guess, so from my point of view, I came into the business when I was working on the boats when I was probably 12 years old. I did my skipper's ticket when I was 18 and was straight into driving boats and entertaining. And that's just the way I grew up, working crazy hours. But the part of it, and the way we've developed a lot of our products, is we actually enjoy. We think that looks like fun. I love doing that. I want to do it now. How do I make some money out of this rather than the other way around? Mm-hmm. Some ways that's good. Some ways that's bad, and it's harder to do it. But that's part of it for me is building products and seeing them succeed. Because that means I get to go and do more hiking, or I get to go and do more fishing or hunting or something like that. And that, for me, succeeding is doing what you love. Over the years, there's a lot of highlights. We had a huge amount of fun in Auckland in the early 2000s with the America's Cups, doing a lot of entertaining up there. The people that I guess the biggest, the success is always just how the client gets off the boat. I mean, there's dollar figure milestones. Probably my personally biggest success. I bought the business off my parents about 5 or 6 years ago, which was great for our family. And then just prior to the border shutting down by about 6 months, we actually went into a partnership with the local iwi, which is the Tūwhare Toa down here in Taupo. So they have a commercial arm, and so now we're equal partners in the business. And that was a big success to be able to get that achieved as well. So there's lots of things, but I guess I concentrate on the outcomes from the customers more than as much as the financial stuff. I'll
tell you what, there's nothing better than bringing a smile to somebody's face. To me, yeah. I mean, that's just, I totally am so into that. When I bring joy to somebody else, that really brings joy to me. And if you're not into that kind of thing, then customer service is not for you. So you're at least in the right place, Total win. Yeah. And it's really important, the team members, and you've talked about how your team members really help to convey that ideal, that value that you have with your organization. So lovely.
Yeah. And we've been lucky in the last, I guess, even into the first 3 or 4 weeks of the pandemic lockdown. I made it pretty clear to my other shareholders that the retention of staff through this process is going to be the key. It's going to cost us, but in order to rebuild a business off the other side, we have to retain our key staff, and we've done that successfully. It's just taken a year and a half longer than what we thought. But now, I mean, we're still looking. We still have staffing issues, as everyone does at the moment, moving forward. But the key part of the company is still able to perform, which is good.
Excellent. I mean, you couldn't foresee what we've experienced in the past 2 years, and so, there was no rule, there was no playbook on how to do it. You just had to go with what your gut was and, double down, you know what I mean? And just hope for the best, because that's all we really had to run with. So I give you so much credit to you and all your stakeholders, and, just taking good care of your employees, because it isn't across the board. And it's lovely to hear that kind of stuff, because some of our, like some folks really did struggle. I have friends that struggled, through these times where just their jobs disappeared, including, because I worked in international language for quite a while, and that I can assure you there was no students, you can't teach if you don't have any,
Yeah. It's just, I mean, for at least within the last month and a half, we've had some direction. We've been able to plan. And I guess that's the hardest thing the whole way through was the goals changing every week, changing every month. You do a lot of work, it all gets changed. But now at least we've got some certainty. You can put some plans in place. You can do your budgets a bit better. And you're not stressed out about having to implement changes every week, because that's so much time wastage.
Wonderful. So now let's get into your digital space, because this is where you excel. I mean, literally our team was told, don't talk to us, you don't need to talk to us, because Chris Jolie does everything digital and we have nothing further to add. So you have been like, the benchmark is really high, just saying. And let's start with, I mean, I heard in the beginning, you mentioned Google, you mentioned your social media channels, but let's get into who you use as a website. Did you have it custom built? Is it something that you built yourself? I'm sure there's been some, because of the longevity of your business, I would love to hear if you had something previous and you've changed it and why. That would be really interesting, just in the website front, because your business has scaled so dramatically and scaled both ways. Yeah.
Right. Websites. So I guess we probably had websites 20 years now, maybe a little bit longer. We first did our major website probably back in the mid or early 2000s. And back then, my brief to the web designers was, I don't need the flashiest website. I want the thing to sell. I want people to get the information and want to do what we want to do and book in. I think a lot of the time you can get a bit carried away. And I guess we've changed. The broader part of that is we struggle to build a good website, mainly because we've got so much product. So when it comes to SEOs and rankings and things, we've got products we're selling to budget, $35 a head products, through to the luxury market that we're selling $10,000 packages. We've got corporate, we've got fly fishing, hunting, mountain biking. So it's quite hard to refine a website into a selling model when you've got so many products involved with it. So we've always thought, well, we've just got to do what we've got to do to an extent, and then rely on some of that other stuff to channel the work through to those, to the landing pages on the website. We're actually right at the moment. We built a new website 2.5 years ago. We were using Flight Digital in Auckland, just with a WordPress site on that. We're actually doing a big refresh of that at the moment, changing products. It just needs major work with the SEO side of things. And we're just using a little company in Taupo called Legend. They do a number of things. So I'm at the moment, I'm deep in my photo archives, trying to haul screeds of information out of photo, imagery and videos, and and just really set the benchmark for the next 2 or 3 years about how we want the flow of information to go out and come in as well, and how we're going to target that.
So do you use like a booking system through your WordPress platform, and what is it?
Yeah, so we use a system called Resd. Originally Australian built system, now operated out of the States, I think, as well. So that we use an integration with basically we only free sell one product through our website. The rest of it is all inquiry at the moment. So that's just for our scenic cruise. Grab a seat, grab a family seat, book what you want to, go straight through the website, and it's live sales on that. Everything else through our channels basically we come in through by email inquiry.
Oh, okay. So you don't use any kind of like VoIP systems or anything like that? Any like basically if you had like a landline, but it shoots out to people who are manning those phones on their mobile, you know what I mean?
Just so basically if you want to book with us, there's 2 ways you can do it. You give us a call or you send an inquiry, and our inquiry system actually runs in through Salesforce.
Okay.
So it's already registering a lead and an email notification on that as well. We've just put a whole new cloud-based system in that we're still tinkering with that can send those calls in different directions. But the guts of it is for our free selling product, which is the Scenic Cruise. It's through a system called Resd. Resd has some good features. One, it has a marketplace feature, so I can reach out and people can reach to us. It lets us sell set market rates for different agents, which is really, really good. It lets even hotels, motels, anyone that wants to sell our product, we can send them a link which they can go straight in through the back end and free sell with commissions sorted and all that sort of thing as well. So it's not the perfect product. I guess with these sort of models, you're always looking at the next best thing, but it's relatively simple and easy to maintain. And when you go to build something new, it's quick and it's continually adapting. So we're reasonably happy with it. A lot of our international agents are hooked up on Resd as well. It's nice, big ones like Flight Centre and Viator and Get Your Guide. Those big online sellers, it works really, really well.
It's very well known. It's very well known in the space. Is there something that you used before that you moved to Resd, or have you always used Resd?
Yeah, so we went Resd about 6 years ago. We were on RTBS before that, and prior to that, we had no online. It was all down to emails and phone calls. Yeah.
So obviously you use Salesforce for your CRM, your customer relationship management system. Yeah. And you probably use that with your team also to, log like jobs or whatever you have, and it seems like based on our conversation before we jumped online, you're a Microsoft suite team. So you use Microsoft 365, is that right, for your whole? Not
at the moment. We're just about to move into 365. So we're using Dropbox for most of our online storage stuff, but that will be running into 365. Predominantly Salesforce. I initially set it up as a database. What we do is relatively simple with Salesforce. Our reservations all run through there. Our quoting system, we have it synced in with Xero. So when jobs are finished, it'll log straight back through to Xero and sends out invoices automatically. And they're continually synced as well. So if you're altering an invoice in Xero afterwards, after a product's been done, it goes back and lines it back up with Salesforce on the other side. It's also used it for, we integrate it with Mailchimp for mail outs. So that just runs an API in the background. And so that works really well. Those are the two main ones. There are some background APIs that are using to build some stuff with Zapier and things to make those products work a little bit better. But the guts of it is the CRM system. We're not, the way our business runs, we don't really need it to run jobs and tasks as much. It's more of there's about 2 or 3 people operating on that, but they're all rotating through the same position. So there's not a whole lot of people using Salesforce in different areas.
Yeah, because it does get expensive when you need lots of licenses. That's the thing with Salesforce is that, you're a bit of a larger company, or you're a larger company than a lot of small businesses, and Salesforce may not be right for every small business, but there's lots of free tools that you can use as a CRM. And a lot of these options do have like free up to a certain limit. So if you're watching this on one of our social media channels or something like that, and you need help finding a CRM, just contact support at digitalboost.business.govt.nz, and we'll give you a list of some that have some free options to start. And you can kind of find which one works best for your business. Your Mailchimp. So you use Mailchimp obviously for all of your email marketing kind of stuff that you do. Do you do that quite regularly, or do you do it maybe like a monthly kind of newsletter, or how do you run that?
We I guess it's probably monthly, but we use it in different markets as well. And we do build some stuff. We also use some Adobe stuff. Canva is another one we use. Just to
Canva. Hey, look, I want to tell you, Simon, I'm going to put it to you right now that there is a Kiwi Canva that you could use.
Yeah.
Just saying, it's called Design Space. John Boyle over at Design Space in Chicha in Christchurch has built, in typical Kiwi fashion, with a shed and some duct tape. He has built, no, I'm just kidding. He has built a Canva that is for Kiwis by Kiwis. And he even is collecting and paying for Kiwi imagery, like to be put up, like New Zealand type imagery, so that when you go there, you can actually find New Zealand imagery, because you won't find that a lot on like Canva, which was originally built in Australia and then was bought out by a US company, I believe. But Canva is a great resource, and you can pop all your branding in there. And I do have a fondness for it, but I do always like to throw out that we do have one, and it's Design Space, DZYN. And then the second word is space. And it's a great platform. He's worked with a lot of graphic designers to build that. So if you want to support Kiwi, and there's heaps of free options as well, just the same. If you wanted to give that a whirl, I'm putting out there for everybody. So shout out to you, John. Yeah.
I'm good on the ideas. Hard, I can help. But when the presentation, I try and get other people involved with as well. I follow my way through templates and do newsletters and things, but for me, it's more, I look at how the background of it's going to work, and what are my expectations and what are my goals from the back, and how can I make it more efficient.
How do you, for your employees, because obviously you have a lot of staff that are on boats and you're doing lots of things like that, and you've got Xero linked up, what payment system, like do you use for payroll? Do they invoice you, or, do you use an app for that?
Yeah, we use an app, PayHero.
PayHero, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, that's linked in with Xero. Everyone's got an app on the phone, logged in. As you say, a lot of staff are doing different jobs. They may be on a boat. They may be a skipper on a boat. They may be a hiking guide and something else, all within a week. So it just allows them to log their hours straight through like that.
Yeah, that's convenient.
Nice and easy. You can take it further. You can geolocate people, have the sign-ins and that sort of stuff when they're on vessels. We run it fairly simple, but it seems to work well for us at the moment.
Yeah, that's nice. There's some trust there, you can tell. Gone are the days of the old, well, we hope, the old I remember those. I remember those, and you'd get 10:01 and you're like, I was late, I
mean, even 3 years ago, the payroll would take all day, now it takes half an hour.
Oh,
that's what you want.
Brilliant.
It's more time chasing staff up than it is actually doing it.
That's always the way. It's like corralling cats, I believe. Yeah. So we've got heaps of tools here. And just by the way, everyone, I've been making a list of the tools because I want to have this real conversation with Simon. I don't want to be jumping across and looking up things. But what I will do is we'll send out a list to everybody who's attended, and I'll pop them all up on the social media channels of all the tools that we've listed here. So you'll have links to all of those and you can check them out for yourselves. You did mention that you're using some Adobe kind of suite, or Creative Cloud, I believe it is now dubbed, things, and I'm sure that's for your marketing and promotion or items, maybe Photoshop, Illustrator, things like that.
Yeah, Premiere Pro and some of that for the videos and things as well, and Lightroom for some basic photo stuff. So we everything we do now, I think I've made a list. It's basically all cloud-based. I don't think we have any software that's hard drive. Yeah.
Okay, the last element, this is the last part I want to get into, is the social media. Okay,
Yeah.
so what channels do you use and why did you pick them?
So we use we've got Facebook, obviously. I actually run a couple of Facebook sites. We first got into Facebook, I don't know, 2007, 2008 or something like that.
What?
When it first came out, I remember going to a tourism convention back then, and being told you had to be on Facebook, and no one knew what it was at the time. But I do remember registering something way back then, and use Facebook for that. So Facebook, Instagram, we run two different accounts on there, one for our general business and one specifically targeting fly fishing, which is targeting into the American market. We use YouTube. We use YouTube for informational channels. We use it for hauling out. Over the years, we've done so many old TV programs and historical data that we've started to push back out and sort of remind ourselves where we came from.
Cool.
And also we use it in the back end for staffing as well. So we create educational videos that we can still privately for health and safety and that sort of thing. So if staff member forgets how to tie a knot, they can go back into the private YouTube channel and actually watch how you go about something.
Oh, that's a neat way to use it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've actually got a friend of mine in Taupo put a product out called Smart Vids. So he actually creates whole health and safety software based around video stuff for what you need to do. So if you have the operation of a tractor, he'll come and film every part of that. So the user can then go back, watch the video, answer the questions. If he has any issues with the tractor, he can go back and watch it. So he's doing a lot of work in that space, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of people doing that sort of thing at the moment.
Yeah, Smart Vids.
Smart Vids, look at Smart Vids. Yeah.
Smart Vids, gonna check it out. Shout out to Smart Vids
and
Legend.
What else have we got there?
I want to ask you about your Google My Business. So I get all your social media. Wait, one last question about the social media as far as Facebook and Instagram. Do you get more leads that come through your Facebook and Instagram pages, or do you get more leads that come through Google?
Google.
Okay. And then with your Google My Business page, because I'm sure you have one, do you have more than one?
Just one at the moment, yeah.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Because I know that a lot of tourism, like if you had a place where you stay, like if you're in accommodation, you can have a different kind of one than if you're, maybe, fly fishing or, something like that. And so some tourisms, if they're like a bed and breakfast, they've got like a shop front and they do tours, they'll have 3 Google My Business pages. Because each one has a different functionality where you can chat with people. But I'm always interested to hear that because I think some people don't take the time to set up their Google My Business or do it properly. But so that was my little way of getting people to realize that is where most of your leads are coming from. So make sure that you have that nailed down. Yeah.
We do spend a lot, I think a reasonable amount on our AdWords campaigns.
Yeah.
It seems to be, if you come back to a cost per click ratio, it's the most effective model that we use. We do digital marketing through other channels as well, but the Google stuff seems to come up the best.
Yeah, that's what generally everybody jumps on their phone and Googles something and then sees if they can find what they're looking for, So having that SEO and having all those right words in place as well is like super important. Does somebody in your team do all of that, or do you outsource that?
So we did outsource it all. I had a sales and marketing lady working for me last year. She left in August. So I've been
another hat.
Wearing another hat again. We've been in obviously in a relatively cost-saving model in these times. So we're just redesigning. But I guess from my side of it, that your marketing's changing a lot. I think the conventional stuff. I think the print for me personally, print media is something that I'll be doing less and less of. And that comes right back into brochures. The way we're able to target market with digital is far more effective than putting a brochure on a stand and generally for kids to pick up. There is time and place for brochures, don't get me wrong, but I think we will be changing a lot of our resources from one to the other into that space.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite thing is if they have like a QR code or something I can scan. Yeah. And then that's my brochure, because I want to look at it later. Probably I chuck everything in my bag. It all gets torn up and eaten by things in there. And then, later I'm like, oh, remember I took that flyer. That was such a waste of a tree. Yeah, for sure. I totally get it. And you see the kids stacking them up into towers. And yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. We are moving and we're really trained. They've really trained us well for the scanning. We're really good at the scanning these days.
It's a new feature with Resty, which is quite good. So I can go to a hotel and design them up their own QR code, which sits within their advertising. So when one of their customers scans it, it actually automatically adjusts the commission. So it doesn't matter whether they scan it in Taupo or they scan it from their website while they're sitting in Auckland, it automatically sorts all the commission out. So it's really clean and tidy. So it's quite a good function.
Awesome. Yeah. This has been so great. I do want to finish our talk with one more question, which is, what advice do you have? Now, this can be life advice. Look, we've been around, what advice would you give to somebody either starting their business or a piece of advice that you just think is invaluable? Give it to us, Simon.
I can tell you what not to drink.
There's no time for it in your world, I'm sure.
Oh, look, I guess, what do you want to achieve in life? I guess is one thing. And I know it's a hard question and your parents drill it into you. But if you can ever get to a point where you can determine that, it makes life so much easier. For us, I grew up in the tourism industry and I guess I evolved with it. And I never really sat back and went, this is, don't get me wrong, I love the tourism industry and it's a lot of fun. And I stayed in it probably because of that. So I didn't have to take that opportunity to really sit back and set some goals out of that. But that would be my big, set goals high. If you set goals easy and you achieve them, you don't really achieve a huge amount. Even if you're not achieving those big high goals, it gives you something to reach towards. And you'll always strive to be a little bit better at it. But people go on, it's a big cliche, do what you love. If you can find what you love and make a living out of it, it's not as financially. It's that option, isn't it? Whether you're there for the financial, or you're there to actually enjoy life and have some fun. Because right. you got to have fun, otherwise, yeah.
Oh man, you're speaking to me. This is great stuff. We always need that reminder though. I think sometimes we get on this, we get on the wheel, as I like to say, and you start running and you're running and running. And then if you don't take the time to think about, wait, why am I running on this wheel again? Is this something that I actually want to do? Is this where I actually want to go? Apparently, well, I guess on the wheel, you're not really going anywhere. But, if you were free running, let's change the scenery. I think that check-in is a really good reminder. And I am always amazed at what people can accomplish from, it doesn't matter if you come from money, you don't come from money, you come from, different socioeconomic status. Really, people have performed the most amazing feats in the world. And we see it so much more now, I think, because we have social media and we can reach beyond our actual neighborhood. But I think it's quite inspiring. And if you think about where you guys started with your dad just being keen on fishing and being like, yeah, we're going to get into this, and look at this massive, organization that your family has built with a lot of hard work. And a lot of work from a lot of people. And it's really great to hear your story and share it with our Digital Boost users, because I believe that, that kind of story reminds us that we can do it. So thank you.
Exactly. It's a pleasure. Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, well, this was a great way to start my Wednesday. It's Wednesday, isn't it? Just checking.
tourism, it doesn't really matter because you just work every day. But,
that's it, isn't it? That's so it. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time out to share with us all your wisdom and all the tools that you use throughout your business. It's always nice to hear how people use them or what is of most value to you, because often that will fit with somebody else's story as well. So.
Yeah, exactly. No, look, it's a pleasure to be here. It was I'd say fairly last minute, so I hope I didn't dribble on too much. But no, fantastic, easy.
No, you're a natural. That's what you do. You're in customer service. That's the thing. It's like you could just talk about this underwater, I'm sure.
I have a dive instructor, so that will.
Look, it's a real thing in your world.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you, everyone who's joined us. I'm looking forward to seeing you all again tomorrow. And wait, it's not Wednesday. Is it Thursday?
Better be Wednesday.
Oh, it is Wednesday. It is Wednesday. Okay. All right. I just had a moment. Thank you, Simon. Much appreciated. Best of luck as these borders open up. We are, and I'm hoping I can get onto one of your things down in Taupo. It's one of my dreams to get down there. I haven't been there yet. So yeah.
Nice. Easy. Give us a call.
All right. Ka kite, everyone. Have a wonderful day. See you.